Rutherford Issues with Bryan Barrett on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at WGNSradio.com.
Well, Rutherford Issues is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric, and they remind us all that better communication leads to better service. Well, with that in mind, keep your contact info current. You can update that at mte.com. Have you changed cell phone numbers recently? Maybe you've got a different email address. They need all of that information so they can send you updates on billing and local outages. Joining us today from the Heart of Tennessee chapter of the American Red Cross, John Mitchell, and we were just doing a little bragging on Will Nunley down in Linden off the air and talking ice storm that still is very much in the minds of a lot of folks from around here.
It sure is. And, you know, where it really hit over there in Hickman County, a lot of our Red Cross volunteers and workers were doing double duty over in McNairy County and Jackson County. That place was hit. And, of course, we know Nashville and Williamson County. We thought we had kind of skirted by without having to maybe stand up a shelter till I think it was on Thursday night. We got a call, and the in-town suites had the third floor water break, and so good story of collaboration between our friends at the Salvation Army, our volunteers that are trained to do sheltering, Chris Clark, our local emergency management director. I like to say, nobody's challenged me this, but I like to say, and it was close to an hour. Within an hour, we stood up a shelter. There was maybe a little more time in some of the earlier conversations, but these people needed a place to go and
couldn't really stay outside. It was bitterly cold. Bitterly cold,
and kudos to Chris Clark because he was, thinking about the fact we originally were going to go to one of the other churches, and then it just hit them. Salvation Army, they can walk there. Mm-hmm. They literally could. And so the initial report was it could be up to 150 people. We ended up, with people in the shelter a little bit under 50, for a couple nights. Because people, when they're presented with the idea of, hey, here is a warm place and it is a cot, they think, well, I do have Cousin Joe, that I can go to, what have you. But if you don't have that option, you need that option. And so, again, we stood up the shelter. We did keep that open for them until they opened the facility back up and they went back in. That particular night, I was assisting the Nashville staff, and I was at the fairgrounds where they had probably 130 people that night. The next night, they had over 200. Quite a bigger of an operation. So we had, between warming shelters and Red Cross managed shelters and Red Cross partner shelters, at the peak it was, way more than 20 that we know of. So, yeah, we were just out there with everybody else responding and making sure people had a place to go. The community does, we were talking about it earlier, the community will respond. And so, but they do look for somebody that's got a little bit of training, a little background on how do we do this. And that's where our Red Cross shelter volunteers are very valuable at that time.
Back when, the Farmer's Almanac was coming out with their winter weather prediction and we were looking at woolly worms and things of that nature, there was just something that said, I think there was even some wording about it could possibly have an ice storm in the southeast. And I got to thinking about that, and we've had little nuisance freezing rain things, a little bit before it snowed or something like that, but not a full-blown ice storm since 94, really.
Yeah.
And that one was something else. I was working here and wound up staying at the station that night. Of course, power went out.
Yeah.
But it came back, and we were on all day the next day doing updates. Still doing the same here during this event in 2026. But ice storms I think we've learned that ice storms are nothing to sneeze at.
They're not, Brian. I grew up in Northwest Indiana, spent a lot of time in Kentucky, and I've spent a lot of time here. But the reality of it is you could learn how to drive in snow, okay?
Yeah.
nobody can drive in ice. But then when you have an ice storm of this kind of impact, it's much more dangerous. I had a friend that I knew that lives up in Michigan that I went to high school with, and he's posting and he's laughing. He's saying, yeah, I might have had 16 to 18 inches of snow, and he was out pushing it off with his snow blower and all that. That's a whole different scene than a couple inches of ice and taking down power lines and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, we do have to deal with that here in the South a little more. It seems like that weather will hinge between 29, 30, 31, and that's just kind of a dangerous mixture,
Well,
so.
but and people didn't really understand, it's 22 degrees, but it's raining outside. How does that happen? And, weather can be fickle, but a few thousand feet up in the air, it was 33 or 34 degrees, not 22, and that's why you got rain.
Yeah.
And so that was just bad news, but glad we all are getting through it. I still think there are some folks in Nashville that are still trying to pick up the pieces from all this stuff.
They are, and the aftermath cleanup, I've heard and seen pictures of the debris. I think somebody made a reference to it that it equated to 7 or 17 football fields, but something that's a visual. That's how much debris cleanup is going on right now, while people are still, making sure their units are working and repaired and moving forward. So, yeah, we'll learn from this, but we'll be prepared. And if you're a church that says, I don't really know what to do when this happens, call the Red Cross and let us know. Would you be a shelter partner with us? Would you have some paperwork on file? You have right of refusal. If we say, hey, you said that you'd be a shelter, we can't come in and commandeer your building and take it over.
Right.
But yet we know it helps us because we never know where that impact is going to be. Mm-hmm. And so the more relationships we have with people and memos of understanding where we need to stand up a shelter, we would love for you to say, you know what? Hey, we'd love to work with the Red Cross. Why don't you come and train our people up? Let's be a shelter partner all the way to the extent that we're trained. We would love to do that too. So we've got great volunteers. We've got great partnerships. Murfreesboro, as you know, Rutherford County and Middle Tennessee is a special area with people working together, and we've seen that.
I remember during the Good Friday tornado, New Vision was a shelter. I don't think they've been a shelter since, but it was at that particular location very close to the community, and that's wherever the disaster takes place, wherever the hazardous material spill is, and you need to get people evacuated. That's so you never know if you're going to be called on or not. But just to be there to say, I want to help if I can.
Yeah, we've actually got a new program called CAP, Community Adaptation Program. We did cover it in another show, but we've also learned that because we can't, the disaster dictates, the area that we're going to be working in. So instead of coming and talking to somebody about, shelter, we're in the middle of it. We're in the middle of it. We've got to move. And so we've learned that we've got some adaptation programs for us to work with community partners a little quicker, a little faster, a little more cohesive through these CAP programs. And that's going to be a big part of the Red Cross's future and working with the community.
Well, our Heart of Tennessee chapter of the American Red Cross is always busy at work. The executive director, John Mitchell, is here. Wherever that might be, you serve dozens of counties here in Middle Tennessee, including Rutherford, kind of based here. And one of the things that I think there's always this misconception, and when I talk about your fundraiser, I always like to say, don't think that the Red Cross, they may be mandated to do some things by the federal government, but they're not funded by the federal government.
Wow, Brian, you said that well. And so if you want to help us be in a position to stand up and to do these things, we constantly do need the donor dollar to support our program. We are, as you said, not federally funded. All the support that we get comes from corporate, personal donations. It's in our mission statement is mobilizing the generosity of donors, or mobilizing the volunteer base, or mobilizing Red Cross blood drives. But yeah, that's a big part of what we do, is not only respond, but ask people to support us financially to be able to do that. And as far as our budget goes, just think of the money that we're saving. If that was federally salaries doing this job, not only do we not receive money from the federal government, but we turn around and utilize the goodwill of people and volunteerism. 90% of everything we do is through a volunteer that generally just wants to give back. They just want to know how they can do it. They want a little training, and they want to be able to help their fellow man during a time of need. And
one of the things that is a recognition of those local heroes, but also it's a time when, you can come have a lunch, support the Red Cross, and that's the Heroes Luncheon. And that's coming up on March 12th. That's already here. Huh?
March 12th. We've got a good slate of sponsors. Want to thank our title sponsor, Nissan has come in the lead again. Ascend Federal Credit Union, Old South Properties is in the next level, and then it gets down to other sponsorships as you move forward. So the corporate community really steps up in that way. But this is an opportunity for you to come to the event, enjoy a nice meal. Let us recognize John Floyd. We're going to recognize another special person, Terry Schneider Smith. Some people might know her with Fast Signs. Mm-hmm. She has done a lot for us over the years through her board service. She graduated out of board, and she's an emeritus board member, stays on our philanthropy committee, and she's provided gift in kind, the signage for the sponsors over the years without charging us. So we're recognizing her. But if you're interested, just go to, basically, give me a call, John Mitchell, at 615-651-3405, 615-651-3405. Or you can always go through, look up Red Cross chapter, Heart of Tennessee chapter, and you can get some messaging to us that way. We'd love to accommodate. We do have some sponsorship still available, but we'd love to have you attend and enjoy that afternoon with us.
Okay. And that's at lunch, I guess, right?
11:30 to 1.
Okay.
We do a little bit more celebration than we can fit into an hour. So
sure.
From 11:30 to 1, we'll, it's right there at MTSU's campus, that beautiful student union building. If you want to challenge your cardiovascular, you can go up that set of stairs. That's really brisk walk. Or you can go around the side, and there's an elevator. It's up on the second floor, but a beautiful facility. And MTSU is such a great partner for us. We love doing things on campus. This is the biggest plug, when students aren't there and free parking.
So it's spring break, isn't it?
It's spring break. So hassle-free parking. If you haven't been motivated to come, that should push you over the edge.
So that's on March the 12th, and you can get information. Just give John a call, 615-651-3405. And in our last couple of seconds here, remind us, we're always in the need for blood, but I would imagine with ice storms and people cooped up for days, and we've probably gotten a backlog here, and the need for blood has never been greater, I guess.
It is, and you hear us say it all the time, but if you take the fact that December is a busy month, January is kind of a catch-up month, you're coming into it in February, and then all of a sudden we're dealing, with canceled blood drives. So just so you know, next Monday, February the 16th, World Outreach 10 to 3. Monday the 16th at the Red Cross upstairs is a special sickle cell blood drive. So if you, ethnicity does matter. So for the people dealing with sickle cell, which is usually the African-American community and the Hispanic community, this is a way to help your fellow citizens that may be dealing with that. So those are two blood drives. If you go to redcrossblood.org, put in your zip code, and these blood drives, along with others, will show up. I will say this. I would encourage you, if you're just wanting to give blood that day, look up and go to one of our remote sites. Our fixed sites are at the 501 are always full because it's a regular scheduled and people are on a good schedule. This is where you can probably walk in and within just a short amount of time get on their schedule and give blood that day. Is World Outreach the 16th, the Red Cross on the 16th, and all the way down to Thursday the 19th, St. Thomas, Rutherford Hospital. So come and give blood and help save a life.
John, always thankful to have you come in and tell us what's going on with the Red Cross. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian. It's good to see you again this morning.
Same. John Mitchell with the Heart of Tennessee chapter of the American Red Cross joining us here on Rutherford Issues. I'm Bryan Barrett. Don't forget, we'll have the podcast up if you missed any part of the show. Until next time, take care out there.